Welcome, friends and people out there in podcast land. Welcome to da 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 Beyond Getting Organized, doot, 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 where we are going to help you get out of the clutches of clutter and be the master of your environment. So, what qualifies us to talk about this? As we said in our last podcast, who are we and where do we come from? And what kind of organizing past do we have? Well, here is our story. Part of our story, the organizing story. When we were growing up, my mom, who was and is, because there is no death, even though she passed away many years ago, she's still alive. We've been seeing dead people since we were a young adult, so that's a whole other story. So my mom, who has passed away, when she was in this material form, was and still is a brilliant artist. She did oil painting, she did drawings, she did sculptures, she did ceramics, she did weaving, she did jewelry. She was a master electrician. She could fix anything, appliances, lamps, you name it. She was also a brilliant landscaper and gardener. Consequently, she had a lot of tools and a lot of supplies. Well, she was a free spirit. Bless her, she was a free spirit. After my parents got divorced, she went wild and was a free spirit. And I'm not going to go into the whole story about her, but what happened was she came back to the United States. She used to come and go out of the country. She came back to the United States. My grandmother, her mom, got really ill, so my mom took care of her. And because she was a bird whose wings were clipped at that point in time, she became very depressed. She had an apartment down the hall from my grandmother. They both lived in the same building. And my mom she became the full-time caretaker of my grandmother. Consequently, not only was she in her apartment, which was a large 2-bedroom apartment, one room was filled with all her supplies. Now, as she became more and more depressed, as I came to visit her, because I lived out of state, as I came to visit her, I saw how the stuff, like a monster, began to creep over her and suffocate her, so that her emotional body, her mental body, her physical body, and her spiritual body began to shrink and become even more depressed, going down this dark, dark spiral of depression and hopelessness. And every time I went to visit her, I would be confronted with stuff. There was this little pathway leading up to her bed, and there was stuff everywhere. And there was no place to sit. I would have to sit on her bed. And it was extremely painful for me, not only to be in this type of environment, but to see her in such a depression and living in this type of environment. Consequently, every time I came to visit her, the organizing queen came out, and I would swiftly organize things, put them into place. Within an hour or so, I'd have the place nicely organized. I'd go out into the other room, which was packed. You couldn't even walk in the door, and I would start working on that. Every single time. And when I came back, it was almost as if I had not been there. She allowed the stuff to encroach on her. It's an emotional issue, folks. It's a spiritual issue, folks. It has repercussions on your mental body, on your clarity, and it's so destructive. Long story short, we were able to free my mom from the clutches of clutter. So, this was in my young age, as a young adult. And as I grew and met friends, family, clients, I began to organizing spaces, organizing homes, organizing closets, whatever. I can organize this. Now, let me tell you, there are a lot of professional organizers like myself, And we personally feel it's a gift, but it is a gift that we have for organizing. But we can teach people how to do it. And in our experience, we have, because of the remote organizing that we do, we are able to free people from the clutches of the material world and enable them to be empowered, teaching them and showing them, guiding them how to be the masters of their environment. And this is our desire, and this is why we're doing this podcast, to teach, to guide, to assist, to free all of us from the enticement and the hold that the material world has on us, so we can focus on our divinity and being in harmony with the planet Earth as we all ascend together into this high vibrational frequency of light. So, in the next podcast, we will give you our background of our spiritual self. One disclaimer: why do we keep saying us and we? Well, we all are multidimensional beings, and I can't separate myself from this third dimensional self from my other multidimensional beings, aspects of myself that assist me. We all have multidimensional selves, and they are working in harmony with us if you allow them, and mine are working in harmony with me. So we say, Orongiri chichichikina makikera, Vankuru bopi birish tikina makakara, Harangara pakuro chichichikina makara stakana makakara. Until next time.